doing yet. First question is pride a huge roadblock to what you need to stop or change?
Yeah, I don't know that I would call it a huge roadblock, but it is definitely a roadblock, right? I think we all, I'll just speak for myself. Certainly, there are things that I know that I should stop, or sometimes things that I want to stop, and pride, this whole sense of, well, maybe I don't need to, or maybe I'm not as bad as some other people, or whatever. Does it get in the way? Absolutely. Yeah, I think we can all own that there are things that we ought to be doing or not doing that sometimes our own personal pride, kind of nudges itself into it. So yeah, I'm right there.
Well, and I think it's interesting. I know y'all get annoyed with me. I always bring up Enneagram. But Doug gave our message on Sunday, and it just so happens Doug is a 2 on the Enneagram, and the biggest pitfall for 2s is pride. Yeah. And so I thought it was interesting that he's the one who wrote this huddle discussion this week and asking, is pride a huge problem for you? And I'm guessing the subtext is, because it's a huge problem for me. So I guess the follow-up would be, is there something that you struggle with more than pride when it comes to making a stop or making a change?
I'm not sure actually there is, because I think for me, the biggest dilemma in making a stop is just the whole concept of, can I do this and will I do this? And my hunch is pride's the inhibitor there, right? That can I or will I? That's about pride. So um, every once in a while, and this is about pride as well. Every once in a while, it's also, well, golly, what will people think of me if I, sort of arrive differently or interface differently with them because I've stopped this thing, whatever it is. And all of those are pride related. So I imagine it's kind of tough, either way. So how about for you?
I wasn't going to answer.
This is the huddle guide. We're going to go together here, girl.
So, I don't know when I think about things that I need to stop or things that I need to change, I think it's stubbornness more than pride for me. Because I'm not too proud to stop doing what I need to stop doing, but why do I have to stop doing it when when nobody else? Well, I mean, it's not that I'm taking pride in the habits that I have, or I don't know, maybe I misunderstand pride, but it feels more to me like I find myself digging my heels in, and especially when I get worked up in anger, I fall back into bad habits. So like one of the questions posted on the Facebook page yesterday, which takes us into our next question, is what is a behavior or a habit that you're trying to stop? And for me, it's making assumptions about other people's motivations. And that is because I get angry when people aren't doing what I think they should be doing. And I assume that their motive is something very villainous. And so it's not pride that's the roadblock for me. It's my stubborn way of doing things.
Yeah. Say more, if you don't mind. Say more about other people's motives, because I'm thinking I need an example of what you're saying, because I think I know what you're saying, but when you use the word villainous, I was like, okay, well.
Well, I scheduled a meeting with Daniel. This is a fake scenario. I scheduled a meeting with Daniel and he agreed to that meeting. I showed up to the meeting. He showed up 20 minutes late. No text. I tried calling him. I tried texting him. He didn't tell me that he was showing up late. And while I'm sitting there waiting for him to get there, my assumptions are he does not value my time. He doesn't care. He got caught up in something else. I never once go to, oh, maybe something's happened. Maybe like something has come up. He is a senior pastor, possibly that he needed to pray with someone, or there was a tragedy or something. I go straight to, he's out to get me.
Okay.
in some way.
Okay. I
And
got
I'm
you.
trying to stop doing that, not just with my personal things, but with leadership. With I have a distrust of leadership, and I assume the worst, and I'm a cynic, and I assume there's a devious plot behind everything that leadership is trying to do. Does that help?
Man, yeah. I think I need some therapy after that description. I don't know. Yeah.
I think I need some therapy. So
Well,
I'm going to try and stop doing that. But it's hard because it's so deeply ingrained
right,
within me to be distrustful.
right. Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. Makes all the sense now. So what I'm going to try to stop doing is jumping to conclusions about people based on uh, minute information. Like if I know one thing about a person, I can make snap judgments about everything else about who that person is, about how I think they're going to respond, or how they're going to interface, or what they believe. And I'm bad about that, and I don't know where I got that from. It's just I will make snap judgments about people based on very little information about who they are or what they're about, or I can just have one or two tidbits of information about them. Anything from maybe where they went to school to what car they drive to what they just said, and I just kind of snap about, well, okay, well then they're such and such, or they're going to do such and such, or um, and so part of that is I'm kind of an intuitive person, so I kind of some of that can actually be positive in terms of how I interact with folks, but some of it clearly can be real negative or real prohibitive to developing a relationship. So I'm going to work on trying not to make a snap judgment about somebody based on just small bits of information about them.
Hmm.
And for me, just like what you described, it's hard because we've become so accustomed to it, or I have become so accustomed to doing that, that I have to stop, pause, wait, think, process. I need to do
Mhm.
more of that, whereas I have not normally done that.
It's our default setting. We just go straight to that.
Yeah, yeah. And I've caught myself more frequently over the last few years doing it, whereas before it was so normal I didn't even think about it or reflect on it. Over the last few years, I've kind of taken note. Man, you've made a judgment about that person, or a decision about who they are or what they're about, without knowing much more about them. And so
Mm.
part of my solution is going to be just ask more questions to get a relationship going, to try to know the person better. So
Yeah. Well, and our last question. So, in Doug's message on Sunday, he talked a lot about accountability and the importance of not only deciding what to stop, but to tell people what you're trying to stop.
yeah.
And so, who in your life can you turn to hold you accountable when you're trying to stop or trying to change a behavior?
Yeah. Well, for me, there are two kind of resources for that. One is my wife Kay, and so she can hold me accountable. But I try, in most circumstances, not to use her for accountability, because, of course, somebody we live with, or a partner, or a spouse, or whoever, obviously that can sometimes cause tension. And so I have a good close buddy of mine who I went to seminary with. Who we've remained close ever since, and we are essentially each other's accountability partners. We check in at a minimum once a week, and sometimes several times a week. And that's the person I check in with and sort of say, hey, help me remain accountable with this, or help me to know what's a better way to deal with this, or help me better understand how I'm missing something. And so he's the one that I go to for those kinds of things, and will rely on as I talk through some of these things that I need to work on better.
Mm-hmm. I think that for me, I kind of struggled with this question more than I thought I would, because I don't turn to other people. I've always been very much a mind over matter person of like, if I'm going to stop it, I'll just stop it. Like, why do I need someone else to help me? And so I was thinking about, do I turn to my family? Do I turn to my friends? And I don't really. And I was asking myself why. And It's mostly because it hasn't worked for me in the past.
Mm.
Not by any fault of theirs, but because I am such a strong personality. I'm very bullheaded. I need someone with equal energy to hold me accountable, because I have been told that I can be unintentionally intimidating, and it's not easy to hold someone like me accountable. And and that's something I need to work on too, is to soften up. But also, I was struggling to think of who in my life can hold me accountable. Um, so any volunteers?
Yeah. Well, so I think you answered my internal question, which was that I was thinking as you started to describe that, which was, golly, do you need somebody who's a little more gentle and passive in the way in which they hold you accountable, or do you need somebody who's kind of pretty strong-willed and strong about, hey, you kind of screwed up here, and you probably need to do this a little better this way? And it sounds like the latter is what you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Soft and gentle does not work for me. And I sometimes won't even hear it.
Yeah.
If someone says it, or they think that they confronted me about something and I didn't even notice. And so I need someone to just like lay it down, say it how it is, and say, hey, this is something I've noticed about you. You need to work on. You are hurting people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I need to hear it. And it's not always a fun conversation, but it's what helps me grow when I have those experiences.
I get you. Well, let's
Yeah.
work on them, right? Let's work on them.
Yeah. So I guess that's an invitation to everybody out there on our social channels and our website.
And yeah,
for some tough love.
I got a frying pan. I'm ready to go.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us for another episode of Go Beyond. And we will see you again on Monday as we continue the conversation at 12:30. And as always, you can catch all previous episodes of Go Beyond at tmumc.org/go beyond.